Hey everyone, I'm Laura Scott, and I am a certified trauma-informed life coach specializing in narcissistic abuse. So today's topic, I really wanted to talk about, is everyone just a narcissist? Let's dive into it. So what I wanted to talk about first was what my definition of a narcissist is. So for me, it's not necessarily someone that is looking in the mirror all the time. That's more of an overt narcissist. But for me, the definition is someone who puts their own needs and ego in front of others in order to feel better for themselves. And the overt narcissist, which I mentioned before, is someone who is full of themselves. They show outwardly that they are self-centered. But a covert narcissist is someone who may not act like themselves outwardly, but they show clear signs of self-intent and not having empathy towards others. So they're often very selfish, but they're often not showing it outwardly. So for me, um, it's really hard when you feel like you're looking at the world right now and you're looking at the state of everything, and maybe you're seeing it in your own personal life, maybe you're seeing it in relationships, maybe you're seeing it in your family, maybe you're seeing it in coworkers, and you're just like thinking to yourself, is everyone just a narcissist? Well, we're going to dive into that today and talk a little bit more about why we're seeing it so much and what are the tips that you can do to help you not only spot the narcissist, but heal for yourself so that you're not attracting people like this into your life anymore. So let's see, who can be a narcissist? So it can involve people that you're dating. It can be with friendships. It can be with coworkers, which would be bosses, and they can be overt or covert. So an overt boss would probably present as somebody that is really in power, in control, doesn't allow the coworkers to have much say or opinion on what they're going to be doing. They like to dominate. They like to kind of come in and basically control the situation, control the work environment, and they let you have little to no say. But a covert boss might be actually harder to spot. It could be somebody that, is a little bit more introverted. They might have the same kind of tendencies, but when it comes to being outwardly controlling or domineering, or somebody that's like a power person in a work environment, they're not necessarily that, but they can have little subtle things that will show you that they're actually in fact a narcissist, but they're more of a covert narcissist. So it could be little things like they're you're working on a project and you go to your boss and you say, hey, I have this idea. This is something that I want to bring to the company. This is something that might be good. And it's behind closed doors. It's not really necessarily where other coworkers can hear. He says, come in, shut the door. And he says, actually, your idea is not good. And I really don't think that our company could even remotely use something like this. Like, this is not what we're going to do. So they're very, very subtle about it, where an overt would actually be broadcasting it to all of the coworkers that he didn't like your idea, or that there's something like wrong with it. Somebody like that might be, typically bosses can be very narcissistic. It's a very common place where you will actually see a narcissist, because people in positions of power often like to they have the same tendencies as narcissists. Now, it's not to say that there can't be really wonderful bosses out there. There are a lot of bosses that that actually are more of a leader, and they will take control, but they also will allow their coworkers to have say. If the coworker would come in and say, "Hey, I have this brilliant idea," he might close the door too, as to not upset some coworkers or anything, but he would actually say, "Hey, this might be actually a really good idea. It might not be the exact right time for it, but we're actually going to think about this in the future." And you can kind of present your ideas there. So stuff like that, coworkers might uh think of that as, oh, they're favoring one person over another. But if he's doing that and there's different coworkers that are coming at different times that are actually presenting similar ideas, and he's giving people a chance, maybe it's not the right timing for it. He or she, I should say, it's definitely not just the male bosses, but and definitely not just males are narcissists, although oftentimes we do find that it is a more masculine trait. Doesn't necessarily mean it's just males. There are plenty of females that are also narcissist. So that's somewhere that you can definitely find it within the working situation. So all right, let's get into the family members. So in family members, it could be a parent. So oftentimes, it is a family dynamic. So the reason that you may attract relationships in your life that are um, slightly narcissistic, or you have this pattern where you can't break this, you keep attracting the same type of person, the same um, kind of partner in your life. And if you actually look and you look at the family dynamics, you might actually be able to see that there's some tendencies from your family of origin, that are actually creating these type of dynamics in your life. So it could be a father figure, it could be a mother. A lot of people say that, the mother wound, especially like if female or a male, but often males, if they have like that mother wound and stuff, it is hard for them to really like know how to respect women and to get into like a healthy relationship. So often if they see narcissists in their family dynamic, and if it's especially if it's a parental figure, as a child you don't know or understand, have the capacity to understand right from wrong, or that this person, what they're saying might not be true, or that you're in this type of dynamic. There is no capacity that a child has to really like understand it at the time. So the child will learn and adapt and try to people please, and get the needs of the narcissist met. So often when they're children, this can come out in people pleasing. So it could be parent, is emotionally unavailable, and the child feels like when they cry or when they get upset or when they have something, that they're shamed, they're blamed, they're made to be bad children. So in order to not feel that shame, to be like labeled as a bad child, the child learns to then shut down their own emotions as well. And so this actually is how we develop different attachment styles, which I'm going to get into also. There can be anxious attachment and avoidant attachment. And often when we're like taught these things from our parents, when there's an emotionally unavailable parent, we often gravitate towards a certain attachment style that allows us to attract narcissists into our life, because if we're not in a secure attachment style, which is the ideal attachment style, we're often looking to get our needs met from outside of ourselves because we never felt like we were allowed to be ourselves, not only be ourselves, but express ourselves full to our full capacity. So we learned these different styles in order to get our needs met. And so this is why I do believe that there is a lot of narcissistic abuse present right now, because I think that a lot of these family dynamics are really becoming really understood now, and people are really like opening kind of Pandora's box to really realize that why we are the way that we are right now, and why there's narcissistic abuse has gone rampant in our society, is because we have kind of lost those core understandings and abilities to just allow us to be our full selves. So a lot of us are projecting that shame onto another person. So let me look at my notes. Okay, so this can be in family members, and it can be also with children. So not only is it prevalent with a parent, but a parent who may actually have one of these attachment styles may be codependent or be in a relationship with a narcissist, or had been in a relationship with a narcissist. You might start to see tendencies in your own children that are narcissistic, and that can be really, really painful because as a parent, you want to fix, you want to heal. Often the reasons why codependents get into romantic relationships with narcissists is because they see the wound in them and they want to fix and heal it. But definitely, as a mother or father figure, especially mother, you want to nurture, you want to fix you want to help your children, you want to fulfill their needs, you want to care about them. So when they start showing some maybe narcissistic traits, and I should be very specific because children often are very self-oriented just in general. So just because a child it is a 2-year-old that's complaining and wanting me, and wanting everything for themselves, that doesn't necessarily mean they are a narcissist. But those kind of traits kind of come later in life, once they are develop into a teenager and they start kind of forming their own opinions and forming their own personalities. And sometimes they can act out and be narcissistic themselves. And it's often really even more painful when you see dynamics like that. But I think stuff like that is really challenging to face, but we have to focus on ourselves and our own healing journeys. And I do believe that once we kind of start to work on ourselves and heal ourselves, that may have a ripple effect into our children and into people around us as well. So often, if you're seeing these type of tendencies, these type of traits in children, it is honestly one of the most like painful parts about it. But you can't necessarily fix or heal anyone outside of yourself, including your children. It's kind of like when you're on an airplane, you have to put your oxygen mask on first. So you have to work on the healing in yourself. What maybe you attracting narcissists into your life? Have you had partners that were narcissistic? Maybe you're married. Maybe the father of the child is narcissistic and they've picked up some traits from them. It's not to blame you or to shame you on any of that. It's actually to say, okay, let me see what my part in this is. My part was being the codependent and having an attachment style that maybe is not necessarily serving me. How can I heal these parts of myself so that I can then in turn give back to my child and be able to help them heal and help them heal from possibly narcissistic traits. And oftentimes, sometimes we cannot help them with that, and that can also be painful as well. So even like healing the wound of not being able to help them necessarily. So okay, so I talked about families. So essentially with this video, I wanted to say, why is this so common? Because I honestly have been getting this a lot, where people will come up to me and like I'll use the word narcissist and be like, oh, this person's a narcissist. And they kind of almost like roll their eyes because they're like, oh, well, that's such a buzzword right now. And it's almost to say that like everyone's calling people a narcissist because they're not willing to take responsibility for their own actions in the relationship, or that they want to feel like the victim in the relationship. And there is a tendency for certain people that have been through this dynamic, especially when you first discover, when you first understand what a narcissist is, when you're just coming out of that first relationship. It is a good thing to research and to understand and to really understand what you just came out of. But is a tendency then to see like to look at the world differently, to see the world as, oh my God, is this person a narcissist? Are they a narcissist? Why am I attracting this again? And beating yourself up because you keep attracting people like this into your life. I believe that narcissists are messengers of your wounds. So whatever in you is unhealed, they're going to bring to light. So anytime a narcissistic person comes into your life, they're there to teach you a very important lesson. And if we can think of it that way versus like beating ourselves up for, oh my gosh, I couldn't see the signs again. I can't believe I attracted another narcissist into my life. If we could actually just see that for what it is, that they actually are there to be a mirror for us, to reflect our wounds, then we can actually take responsibility for our own part in it. And we can stop blaming and projecting onto the narcissist and to really recognize that, oh, this person's actually just a reflection. I don't have to feel guilty or shame. I don't have to feel like, why am I doing this? Why do I keep like attracting people like this? As long as you are doing the work in yourself, you will be able to heal. And maybe next time you won't meet the person like that. Maybe you can up level from that. And I know it's really challenging because when you keep seeing narcissists, you're like, I swear I thought I looked at the signs. I studied all of this. It's really to say that you can study as much as you want. You can spend as much time on studying narcissists, on understanding who they are and why it's so common and what they do and the red flags and all of that kind of stuff. You can do all of that, but that won't get you anywhere if you're not addressing your own unhealed wounds, because shadow work is one of the most important things, aspects, I believe, to self-growth. And I like to kind of look at narcissists sometimes as they're basically just a reflection of the shadows that I don't want to look into myself at. It's not to say that, because when you say that, sometimes people think, oh, well, I'm nothing like the narcissist. I'm kind. I care about people. I'm very compassionate. I really, make an effort to really care about people. So I couldn't be possibly anything like that person. And that's not what I'm saying. The mirror aspect is actually that so let's say that you're afraid of abandonment, because that's a big one. So you're afraid of abandonment. So you keep attracting people into your life. Unfortunately, it's not going to be the people that aren't going to abandon you. it's actually going to be the people that are going to abandon you, because you need a lesson to be able to learn how to stand up on your own and not be afraid of being abandoned. So oftentimes the narcissist will give you the thing that it's so painful that you have to actually look at yourself. You have to really understand what is going on within me that is attracting this type of person and this type of energy into my life. So that's really like, in a nutshell, narcissist has become kind of a buzzword lately, and it has been, overused. I will admit that. I think that a lot of people think that, you know, oh, somebody's just labeling that person as a narcissist because they don't want to take responsibility or the blame for themselves. But what I'm actually saying is, when you actually can look at it and you can see, oh, this person's actually reflecting to me what I haven't healed in myself, that's actually knowledge and information that I can use to then go through the process of doing shadow work to be able to heal myself. Um, and it can, the buzzword can be like wanting to turn everyone into either a villain or a victim. And I think that, that's the catch that people get stuck in with narcissistic abuse, where they get out of the narcissistic abuse, they start studying and understanding what a narcissist is, but they can't get out of that cycle. They can't keep they keep attracting that same energy to them. Maybe they say, I swear off dating, I'm never going to date again. But they go into work and their new coworker that is working with them is a complete narcissist. And they can't do anything about it unless they leave that job, and they can't leave at this point. So they're having to face whatever wound that, they were avoiding dating, or they were avoiding other things. That person is going to come up in different ways in your life until you want to look at those wounds. And I think a lot of people that, swear off dating, that say, oh, I'm never going to date again because I just feel like, I'm just playing out this pattern all the time and I just like don't understand why. I think it's understandable to take a break. It's understandable to work on yourself, to heal yourself, to self-partner. And when you're ready, then once you feel like your life, everything, not everything is perfect, of course. Nobody has everything perfect, but once you feel like enough has healed in your life, and there's a catch with that, because sometimes we always have that as the goal. Oh, when I feel this, then I'll be happy. Oh, when I feel this, then I'll be happy. Or when I get this. So you have to be really careful with that. But I do believe that at some point you will feel on your journey that you've healed enough to be able to go out and date again. And let's say you do that, you meet another narcissist and you're thinking, oh my God, I waited all this time and I swore I knew the signs, I knew everything, and I still attracted one. Well, here's the thing is, it doesn't mean anything bad about you. It just means that there's another wound there that you need to heal. And I know that's something that you probably don't want to hear. You're just like, I'm just ready. I want to be married. I want to have a family. I want to start all of these things. And you feel like, why do I have to keep going through this? And I know it is really challenging. And that's why, somebody like me, who is a coach, who has a lot of knowledge on this, but also personal experience on this, would be somebody that could really help you get through and be able to heal on the other side of narcissistic abuse. Because it's not necessarily it's not your fault at all, but it's your responsibility to heal the wounds within yourself so that you can start to really feel like you're self-partnering, you're finding You're finding your tribe. You're finding the people that are meant to be in your life. Let me just look at my notes and see if I finished everything. Oh, and it's also like a reason why a lot of marriages and relationships fail right now, because I do believe that there is a lot of narcissistic abuse going on. I mean, look at the state of the world right now. And I really think that, everything feels like it's so broken, and that, there are so many unhealthy, toxic patterns. We're seeing it throughout all of society right now, the narcissistic abuse that's coming up. I'm actually going to be doing another video on the show about Quiet on Set. It was about what happened at Nickelodeon during the 90s. So when I grew up with all of the different TV shows and stuff in the 90s that was Nickelodeon. And I'm going to be talking about the narcissistic abuse throughout that, and the sexual predators that were a part of all of that. And it's just showing, because I want to talk about these topics, because unfortunately, what's happening right now globally is we're seeing all the cracks. Because I think with narcissistic abuse, before you probably understood about it, and before you really like went through it yourself, you really didn't know anything about it, and it was just this subject that nobody really talked about. But now that it's been exposed, it's out in the open, people talk about it a lot. Things like the Me Too movement came through with all of that information about it. And that, exposes all of that kind of abuse. It's not to say that necessarily everyone that was a part of that was a narcissist, but oftentimes perpetrators, people that are abusive sexually or otherwise, are also narcissists and have narcissistic traits within all of that dynamic as well. So what we're seeing is just a global movement of transparency. That's really what's coming to light. It's not that it's happening more. It's actually that we're actually exposing narcissistic abuse globally right now. And it has to all come up to the surface, even though it's really painful to see. It may be really painful in your own life. You may say, I'd rather not look at my wounds. I don't want to face this stuff. I don't want to, face the fact that I attract narcissists. And I just, or even, if you're in a relationship dynamic that, some of the points I said maybe is resonating with you. You're like, but I don't want to look at that. I don't want to see it, because it is painful. It is painful, and it's hard to change. It's hard to know what is the right action to take with, experiencing those kind of things. So I definitely understand like where you're coming from if you feel that right now. So, okay, so I want to give you some hope. So how do we stop the cycle? How do we break the cycle of narcissistic abuse? So what I mentioned before is facing your own shadows, facing your own traumas, your own things that you've pushed down, your abandonment wounds, your fear of rejection, your feeling of I'm not good enough, your fear of commitment, there's so many issues and so many things that may be something that you're dealing with. It could even deal with addictions and things that you use as a coping mechanism, as to not feel the shame, not to feel the hurt that you're feeling at the moment. And if this is you, if you're going through that, my heart goes out to you, because I understand how hard it is to like be like, oh my gosh, I see all of it. I see all the trauma. I see everything that's going on, and it feels way too overwhelming to like, I have way too much to like deal with. So it's not something that you have to like deal with overnight. It's unpacking the layers of it. it's understanding, your part in the codependency that you created to attract narcissists into your life. It's baby steps in order to get you to really understand why this might be happening in your life, and learning your own attachment styles. Learning your attachment styles is something that's really important. Being able to understand if you are anxious attachment, which is somebody as a child that was not, their needs were not met, and they felt like they had to reach out and grab the attention of a parent in order to just get their basic needs met. So anxious attachment style can often be um, the children that are very clingy, that that feel like they want to be next to somebody all the time, that are always like constantly grabbing your attention and things like that. But it shows up, in adults differently. Anxious attachment style might be in a relationship that you feel like if they don't text me right away, that they don't love me, or if they, if they do a certain thing and they forget to like include me, then I don't feel loved. I'm not good enough. And all of these things come up. And so with anxious attachment style, it's probably another video I'll make, but it's important to really understand that, you're trying to get your needs met outside of yourself. And in order to actually self-partner and self-soothe, you need to find ways and coping strategies that you can get your needs met by yourself first, so that you're not constantly looking for outside approval. And so avoidant attachment style is a little bit different. Avoidant attachment style is kind of what it says. You're more avoidant. It's people that are maybe commitment phobes. Like they don't want to commit to something because they're afraid of being trapped, or feel the feeling of being somebody being too clingy, and they're automatically out. And um that can often be the dynamic between a narcissist and a codependent, and it can actually flip-flop. So one could be anxious attachment, and then another could be avoidant attachment, and then they swing back. The other one is, and it kind of goes back and forth a little bit as well. So you can learn your attachment style, and you can learn why you are, what kind of narcissist you might be attracting, or what kind of people in your life you might be attracting. And then to learn the red flags. So I think the most important part first is to really get to the core of actually healing yourself, to face your shadows, to really self-partner, to get the trauma out of your body, to really do some somatic exercises. I'm really working through a lot of different things somatically right now, which is really, really helpful. Things like EFT tapping has helped me. So doing that first is really important, but learning the red flags is also really important. I think people put learning red flags first because they think, oh, well, if I research and do all this, I know all the information, I know all the red flags to look for, I won't attract a narcissist. And that's not necessarily true, because you attract them because of your wounds. You don't attract them because, oh, I understand and have all of this knowledge about red flags, so therefore I will never attract a narcissist in my life. That would be great, but it's a start. It's good to know and to look out for those kind of red flags. And it's also important to know that sometimes when we do that, we can see everything as a red flag. So it gets really tricky there too, because you look at things like love bombing, which is something that it's a tactic that the narcissist will do. You look at that as something, if they are giving romantic gestures, or showing any affection, you're like, is this a red flag? Is this a red flag? And And it can feel it really exhausting in a relationship to constantly be like on the lookout for that. So what I really recommend first is to look at the wounds and heal that. Because then you'll be able to actually like decipher and understand, okay, like, is this a red flag or is this not? So, yeah, so the last step is to really work on healing codependency. So codependent patterns are essentially it's actually the reverse side of a narcissist. So a narcissist um, feels entitled to taking things from other people. They feel like they want energy, they want love, they want nurturing, you name it, money. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean every narcissist is like all of these things, but they tend to want to take things from. And a codependent also is looking to get their needs met outside of themselves. So they're giving in order to receive. So a codependent will often give their love, try to fix, try to heal, try to mend a wound for somebody else in order for them to feel better. So they'll say, oh, this person, look at them, they're so broken, I can heal them. And in order, it's actually like is a little bit selfish in a way, because they're actually giving, they're trying to fix somebody else so that they can feel good themselves. But a narcissist will do that in a very manipulative way, and a codependent will do that in a very caring and compassionate way, even though it's a similar kind of energy. So that yeah, I gave a lot of information today. So if if you want to look back on some of it, I'm going to break this up into sections so that you can understand fully kind of what I'm talking about. And I want to hear your story. Are you attracting narcissists? Are you like, why do I see narcissists everywhere? And did you get anything out of this video? Do you now kind of like understand why it's so commonplace and why narcissists are so popular right now? If you got anything out of this video, please comment below and let me know. I will be opening for sessions. So I'm getting my LLC. I'm still working on all of the logistics. So I'm working on getting my LLC and my business bank account and everything set up right now. And once I get it all set up and approved, I will be taking on new clients. So I will let you know the date for that and when I'll be starting to take new clients. I'm also going to be offering some EFT tapping sessions if people are interested in learning more about that. And, I'm looking into like possibly down the line doing group coaching and things like that. So please stay tuned. And if you want to join my mailing list, I will put the link below. And if you want to like and subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate that. Everyone that can like and subscribe would be really wonderful. It really just like helps my channel to grow a little bit. And thank you guys so much for watching and have a great day.